technically, realistically, in our experience, we don't experience future ever. There is no tomorrow. Like literally, there's no tomorrow as of right now, because all we live in is right now. That's all we can experience. We have memories of the past, but guess what? We can't go back that way. We can project what we can do in the future, but we're not God. God could say tomorrow, hey, the sun goes backwards now. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. Figure it out. Change these time zones to be even more confusing than they already are. But whatever we want to do, we have to start now in this moment. Don't put it off until some magical time, because magical times don't exist. You create magic. You don't wait for magic to happen.
Oh no! I don't get it. It's okay. We get
it. I was like, yes, Lord. Come on with the cancellations.
Ooh, we going in it. Now I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm black. Am I good?
He's with the best of them. And he's one of my favorite men to emphasize.
that entrance sounds like much more than who I actually am.
All right, so my guest of honor is a self-starter that has mastered the art of being efficient. He has been a student of productivity for over 8 years. His journey started in college with the desire to learn how to study effectively and get good grades. Learning about effective actions, goal setting, and increasing productivity carried over into his first job, working for the largest utility company in Texas. It was in this position that he saw the need for productivity coaching. The goal wasn't to add more to an already crammed day, but to teach others how to identify the goals they want to achieve, select and prioritize the steps to achieve them, plan days that supported their productivity, and execute their actions to the best of their ability. He is on a mission not only to help engineers become more productive, but to also do so in a way that lessens stress and fosters an environment to produce high-quality work. He's a natural-born leader with a solution mindset that's going to impact the world. Today, my guest of honor is Matthew Gaddy. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. That was the best bio I've ever heard. Like, yo, I put all the $4 SAT words in there.
Well, I'm glad you like it. I mean, look, you've done a lot. So how has quarantine been for you, though?
It's been good. It's been different. So doing coaching full time. So I actually quit my job the last day of May in peak, right? That was the most terrifying thing on the face of the planet, because I had wife and daughter, and I was like, all right, we're gonna have to figure this out. Mm-hmm. But I really did feel led, like there was time to do it, and it was time to make that decision. And there were some clauses in my contract that I had signed at my job that I did not like, and I wanted to make sure that if I signed it, I wanted to make sure that I abided by it. But I also didn't want to discredit and hamper my own growth because of quote unquote stability and money.
Right.
I realized it was that thing I had been doing for about 2 years before I quit and pursued it full time. Got on with a coaching company that was helping me to build my online business, helping me to build some of my online assets, teaching me how to build the business rather than just being a coach. Because I quickly learned that those are two completely different things. Building a business and being a coach are two completely different things. So having someone to help me and guide me through that has been great. It's been awesome just to see the growth in what I've been doing so far, and also in myself, just seeing like, you don't know how much when you're in an element where the only person you can trust is like you and your action, you learn a lot about some of your bad habits very, very quickly. And so having this time to grow, having this time to read and teach others, but also read and teach myself has been instrumental in me getting to where I am now and being able to help people in the capacity that I do now.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, I noticed that you said that it started when you were working for the utility company. But what do you feel like really was the one thing that made it like, I have to do this? Like, this is something that I feel like is needed. Like, how did you know that that particular lane was what you wanted?
Two things happened. Very high profile position, and this high profile position didn't fit with where I wanted to be at my job. So you're a disgruntled employee, and everyone can see how disgruntled you are because everybody sees you now.
Yeah.
And some things I learned very quickly in doing that. I was like, some things are just not worth the money. I was like, I will give you back all this money you gave me if you take this thing away from me. I don't want it.
Yes.
So that was one thing. And then two was when coaching business was starting to pick up, and basically got told, hey, the way the contract was written was that we need your best effort to be at this place of work rather than your other stuff. So you can have your other stuff, but this is your primary focus. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that you own me, especially when we're all working at home anyway. And it's not like I wasn't producing what I needed to produce on time. It was just a matter of, hey, we want you to produce more than you were beforehand. And I just don't like those handcuffs, for lack of a better term. My thought process has always kind of been honor what you're doing, make sure you're doing it well, but that doesn't mean you own me. You know what I mean? And when things start tipping over into that aspect of it, it's like, that's red flag number one, where it's just like, hey, get out. You don't want anybody to own you, because that's slavery. That's slavery you agreed to because you said this salary is worth my life. So that was one thing I was like, no, not doing that no more. So those were the two big factors that really helped me to be like, hey, it's time for me to get up out of here.
That's so dope. I'm so glad you chose yourself, because so many people will sell themselves out thinking, oh, in about 2 years, I'm going to be at this level. They're going to keep you where they want you to be. You know,
and here's the thing that I'm learning too, is that like entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. That's not a bad thing. And if you know it's not for you, get into whatever position you love and flourish by creating a plan for yourself in that place of work. Because if you don't have a plan for yourself in your place of work, you're living and helping someone else get their plan done. So you need to be the one who says, hey, this is the position I want to get. This is what I need to get to here. This is how I'm going to orchestrate my work. This is how I'm going to orchestrate my extracurricular activities in order to get to where I want to go. Because if you don't, work is designed, especially now that things have gone online and you're not expected to be, because we have more continuous access to people via internet, you're expected to be like, hey, it's between your work hours, you have internet, I should get a response because of that. So if you're not one that's willing to set these boundaries and say, hey, this is how I operate, this is how I don't operate, you will get used all the way up. You'll be good for nobody. You'll get off work and be so tired. It's like, I can't pursue my own passions because I am mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually exhausted.
Absolutely.
And that's not a position you want to be in ever in life, unless it's towards something that you know that you have chosen to be exhausted for.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in everybody is not meant to be an entrepreneur. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. It sounds nice because, that's the it thing right now, but it's not for the weak. I will say that.
No. Oh my goodness. When you first start, everybody's like, being an entrepreneur is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, like ever in life. And at first you hear it and you're like, how hard could it be? It's work and I'm helping people. It should be fine. Nah, bruh. No. Until you realize that, it's been, 3 weeks and you've sent out so many emails and talked to so many people. And not only have nobody said no, nobody's responded to you.
Yes.
And and you're out here just yelling in the social media ether, thinking that you have the greatest product. And so that toughness and that grit and that perseverance really does pay off. And just being listening to your target audience is like the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
So figuring out, what do people really want? You have what you think people want, but what do they really want? Because nobody wants to work out until they start working out, and then you get like stuck with it. You know what I mean? So learning how to make whatever you're offering appeal to the target audience and selling what they want, but then giving them what they need in order to get to where they want to go. That's one thing, a big thing that you have to learn. you have to learn to talk to people the way they want to be talked to and listen to people so that you can put what they're actually wanting into your product rather than you coming down from on high and saying you need this.
Right. You got to make them think it's their idea.
Exactly. And so learning how to talk to people, like learn conversational skills. Oh my goodness. That was like one of the bigger things. And just from having an engineering background, I won't say I was not as good as I could be at talking to people, let me put it that way. But when you jump into the space, especially in the space that I'm in, where I'm having to tell people the way that you've been doing things is what's working well for you so far, there's a better way to do it. So not only am I saying, hey, you should try this, it's, hey, what you've been doing may or may not be the best way to do it. How do you break that down to someone in a way that doesn't shut all those doors and cut off all those blocks to say, hey, what's been working for me, I haven't got fired yet, I'm doing pretty good, I don't need help. So learning how to present your case. Exactly. Yo, you will be surprised, especially tangent, especially now in COVID. There is a lot of people who are willing to put up with a lot of things simply because they feel grateful because they have a job. And on the one hand, that's awesome that you do have a job. On the other hand, you have to make sure that you're not being treated like a dog. And once again, in exchange for money, man, in exchange for money. Because at the end of the day, eventually we're all going to have to go back to work. And guess what's going to happen when you go back to work? Everything that you've accepted online, once you've set those parameters and say, you're willing to treat me however you want to between these hours, you get back to work, you think that's going to change? No. Nope. It's just that I see you in person now. Yep. So I'm going to talk to you the same way I talk to you when you're online. I'm going to ask you to do all the same things that I did when you were online. And just because you're here now, I can check up on you more frequently in person to make sure that you did what you're supposed to do. There is no, I didn't see your email. I stopped by your office to make sure. So setting those boundaries is like something that is super, super crucial when you are in a space, well, in work in general, but especially when you're working online, when there's no off. You're choosing to get off. But work is always at home because your laptop is there, your email is there, all your work stuff is there. So it's not like you're leaving the office. Your office is already there. So having those defined cutoff periods is something that you really have to put in, because if not, you'll keep getting pushed back and back and back. And now you're doing emails at dinner.
Absolutely. You definitely have to set boundaries. Definitely. Speaking of setting boundaries, being a coach, I feel like we have to do that for ourselves. And I think that our coaching style says a lot about how we try to teach our clients how to do that. So tell me a little bit about your coaching style. Like, what do you love to do?
I like to explore things with people. And also the way that I look at it is there's, especially in the productivity space, there's principles of productivity that's going to apply regardless if I teach it, if you teach it, if my wife teaches it, my daughter teaches it, whatever. Let's present a principle and let's talk about what this looks like in your life. Like a principle might be identifying what your goals are. Okay, cool. That's something you should always do. You should always identify what your goals are. Now let's talk about this. Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? There is no right or wrong answer. This is your goal. I don't care. As blunt as that is, I don't care. If your goal is to be, what I want to say, if your goal is to only move up one level in your job, that's fine. That's great. Because guess what? You determine that. And for better or for worse, if you achieve that goal, can't blame anybody but you. That's no big deal. That's what you want to do. We've helped you get there. That's what you want to do. No big deal. If your goal is to become CEO in 20 years, that's also great. Let's identify that goal. Let's explore that. The way that I try to explore it is that this is the principle. We're not going to change the principle for you. I'm sorry. We're not going to change it for you. But what we can do is change and adapt the principle to fit into your life. Let's talk about your life. What does your work look like now? What types of tasks are you doing now? Are you mostly on the phone? Are you mostly on email? Are you mostly doing Zoom calls? What does that look like? And adapting that particular principle to the way that you work. Cornerstones don't change ever. But the way the building looks may look different depending on what the construction plan is. So learning how to adapt a principle and put it into someone else's life, being open and honest, because I'll be open and honest with my clients. I'll tell them, they'll ask, well, what would you do in this particular situation? And I'll say, I'll tell you once you tell me what you're going to do in your particular situation.
Right.
So being able to be open and honest with them and make them feel comfortable. That's the biggest thing. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to say what you're doing is wrong. I'm here to simply provide an alternate point of view. And if you choose to listen to what I'm saying, that's great. I mean, if you do, great. If you don't, let's talk about why. Why was this difficult? What were some of the blockages that you were having? What was some of the resistance you were having around this particular blockage? Rather than just saying, oh, you were wrong, don't do this, bad boy, whatever. Because when you do that to people, it shuts them down. So being as open and honest as possible, not trying to talk all the time like I'm doing answering this question, but
You're
making
fine,
sure
though.
that they have the space, making sure they have the space where they can feel heard and where their opinions matter. So a lot of times people feel like their opinion matters. They feel like everyone else's opinion of them matters, but their opinion of themselves and where they want to go does not matter. So when you're able to sit down and talk to someone and just say, hey, this is about you exclusively, that's something that can really open up people to what you have to say and make them feel even more comfortable, because this person is here to help me.
Right. I believe that self-image plays a huge role in the way that people choose to create their goals, or like the benchmarks they set. Everything, it has a lot to do with that. And I wanted to ask you for you to tell us a little bit about your background and how you feel like it's impacted the person that you are now today.
Okay, wow, that's a deep question. So go all the way back. So I went to first grade. I was homeschooled second grade all the way through senior in high school. So when I got to college, I understood like the studying portion of college, but I didn't understand like it was a lot of people, man. My school had like 3 people in it, and one of them was my mom. So being in that particular situation, yes, it is a transition. Not to say like I it wasn't to say like I'd never had time to interact with people or be social with people. It's just that this is a different environment for me. So when I first got to school, a lot of my college journey was basically, this sounds so cliche, finding my voice, figuring out how do I fit into this larger thing beyond my household or my group of friends or what I'm doing, and being able to make an impact on them. And I think that's really helped me as I'm going through coaching, because I've understood what it's like to not feel heard or feel like you're in a space where there's not any time for your particular opinion. And that's, it's kind of backfired sometimes, because sometimes I'm just very opinionated on something, because when you haven't been heard for a very long time, that time where you're just like, hey, let's listen to him, you're like, hey, I got y'all this time. I got y'all. But having that experience really helped me to be a good listener, helped me to understand and observe people and understand and kind of see, like, you call it like micro expressions, if that makes sense. You ever heard that before? Okay. So for everyone who's watching this, not watching micro expressions, your face will tell on you without you watching, or without you controlling it. Yeah. And so being able to see those things and being aware of them, because when you're in a place you don't have a voice, you really have to be responsive to everyone around you, because it's like, yo, I need to know how people feel without me saying anything to them, because I may or may not be scared or not wanting to interact with this person. So understanding and being empathetic and being able to read people and say like, yo, this dude is upset. He's upset at you because of what you just said. You don't even know it. So understanding how those things go together and being observant in that manner really has helped me in my coaching journey, where I'm just talking to someone and we may end the call and then they'll say something and I'll see their face and I'll hang up and I'll be like, wait a minute. I'll email them right after and be like, hey, something was off. I don't know what was off. If you have time, I can hop back on with you, because some was different. If you have a question, and a lot of times people will be like, yo, I listened to you, I understand, but because of X, Y, Z, so I'm having a problem with it. All right, let's talk about this. So being able to see that in others and being able to react to those particular things is really important. And then just like going through college and finding that voice and going through the pledging process really helps you to understand like you can do a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to have that confidence in yourself. And until you go and find that confidence and find that like resilience and find that, for lack of a better term, find that dog inside of you, you won't find it unless you need it.
Yeah.
And when you need it, you know where it is now. So going through that, you go through to entrepreneurship, completely different types of scenarios, but you know, hey, if I can make it through this and I didn't know what was going on then, I can make it through this. And I really don't know what's going on now.
Absolutely. That's real.
Exactly. Just doing that, trusting your family, praying, trusting God. If you ever want to get your relationship right with God, quit your job and put stuff together by yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's really been like a couple things that have really helped me to be who I am today and have helped me in where I am now and will help me as I continue to go forward.
Sounds like empathy is a big tool that you use because you're able to like understand and feel. That's a gift. That's not something that everyone has. So the fact that you're able to do that is a blessing, like for real.
It is, but the dark side to empathy is, and you have to be, for those that are empathetic, one, like you said, it's a very special gift.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, you have to make sure that you're not embodying others' emotions. Because I know that about myself. I will see something and someone will feel bad and I'll begin to feel bad. Not because I feel bad, but because he feels bad.
Right.
And I'm identifying with this particular person. It's the weirdest thing. If you don't have it, you're like, yo, what is going on? But you have to make sure that there's boundaries to your empathy. Understanding like I can empathize with you without feeling the way that you do. I don't have to feel sad because you're sad, but I can understand and feel empathetic for your sadness while you're in your sadness.
Absolutely. Because I was just about to say that it's not always a good gift. we get to feel in all kind of craziness because of all the people that we deal with on a regular basis.
Exactly.
So it's their way and ours. So it's like,
exactly.
It's a lot, but it's a great gift though. I think it's something that's definitely helped me in my life as well. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Nobody can understand you like an empathetic person.
Absolutely. So in school, you studied engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you got to tell me why you chose that because I know everybody chooses that, but tell me why you chose that career field.
So fun fact about me, I was not going to go to school to be an engineer. I was actually initially going to go for English because I love to read. I love to write. Well, I still love to read, still love to write. Don't write or read as much as I would like to anymore, just because it's a not time consuming process. It's just like I like to sit down and read for hours at a time. My dad told me straight up, hey, I'm not paying for that. So
oh no,
I became an electrical engineer, but it worked out pretty good because one, it kept me occupied and I didn't get in trouble because too much free time in college is not always a good thing for me anyway. And it really helped me to be analytical and to stretch my brain almost. I feel like with an engineering degree, people look at engineering as like some sort of fanciful thing with numbers and diagrams and stuff. No, it's problem solving. It's like, yo, we need this thing to fit in this hole. What do you do? This thing is going this fast. Is it going to break the wall down or is it not going to break the wall down? It's problem solving that you do every day. It's just there's numbers and letters and formulas attached. It's really not that big a deal. It sounds super crazy, but like once you get outside of, especially electrical engineering, so much of electricity and electrical engineering is so you can't see it at all. So a lot of it is theoretical. And so there's not a real world example for a lot of these things. But the moment you take that out of it, you take the I can't see this out of it, it's like, oh, it's not that bad. You just move this here, you move this here, and you divide it, and then you put the numbers in. We're good. So it is difficult, but it's not unachievable. So for people that are doing engineering, don't think of it as like math and all kinds of stuff. It's just problem solving. Engineering will help you in so many ways, just to look at things and to understand problems better. I always think that if you have something and you don't know what's going on, but it needs to be fixed, call an engineer. It's going to take them forever and forever to get it done. But when it's solved, it'll be done and you won't have to worry about it anymore. So just learning about, initial conditions, what's actually going on. And this goes into coaching too. Figuring out what's actually going on first. What's happening? We don't want to start just applying things to your life and we don't know what's going on. You could be doing stuff that's good already. You could be just doing stuff that's bad already. Let's talk about what's happening first before we try and change your life. And so using that and then using the principles, the formulas that don't change, essentially the same thing. Wow, let's come with that analogy. Anyway, it's not too difficult. It is difficult. It's not too difficult. It's not unachievable. I encourage anyone who's interested in doing that to, one, talk to someone in the engineering field and see what they do every day, because what you learn in engineering school is not what you're going to be doing at work 90% of the time. So
that's a message for y'all.
Exactly. pick a job. Don't pick an engineering degree. Pick a job and then do what you need to do to get that particular job or wherever you want to be, and then work backwards from that, rather than going to, mechanical engineering school and being like, oh, I did this, but I needed electrical to get here. Don't do that. You just wasted 4 years of your life, and you have to spend more time learning, trying to get over to that position you wanted, rather than just starting from there and working backwards.
Reverse engineering, guys.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, that has been a story of my life. I feel like that's a philosophy that I live by. Reverse engineer that thing so you can get there.
Exactly. It helps so much. And you don't get lost in, I always tell my clients, you don't get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
You understand, this is where I want to be at. So why not start there and work backwards and just start walking in a random direction and then hoping you get to your destination. You don't do that when you're trying to go someplace in your car that you've never been before. You don't get in your car and try to go to, Wyoming and just start driving. You put it in your GPS. You put your end destination in, and then it calculates that bad boy backwards.
Absolutely.
Do that with your career.
You need a target. You got to have a target.
Exactly.
You have to.
Without a target, it's just aimless action. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's how you get yourself in trouble. You talked a little bit about your business, and I want you to tell everybody more about what you do, why they should want to have a coach to help them with that area of their life.
Okay. So my business helps ambitious engineers achieve their goals by creating productive days. So we do this through a 4-step framework. First is identifying the goals that you want to achieve, like we talked about, reverse engineering. Selecting the tasks that will help them achieve that goal, figuring out what steps do I need to take to get here, once again, reverse engineering. Planning those in their day. This is the key point as an aside to this. Plan your days in advance, everyone. Please plan your days in advance. It will give you so much more control over your day. Even if your day doesn't go according to plan, you have a plan to operate from. You can move things around instead of trying to find time. You will never find time. Put time in your calendar, you'll be able to do it. So it's an aside for free. So planning their work days around these tasks. So planning time each and every day to work on these tasks that will help them get to the goals they identified, and then execute. Making sure that when they're working on these goals, they're working on these goals, working on these goals only. This isn't a time to be multitasking. This is a time to be distracted. Insulating themselves with time blocks and making sure that whenever they're working on those particular tasks, they are putting forth their best effort. And when they're putting forth their best effort in a distraction-free environment, they're able to produce the highest quality work that they can. So why should people get a coach? Because it's hard to see the system when you're in the system. It is very hard for you to see what your life is, what your habits are, what you're doing each and every day, if you're the one living your life. And so sometimes it's great to have an outside perspective to say, hey, you may think that doing X, Y, and Z activities is going to get you to where you want to go, but let's look at this based upon the goals that you've talked about. Let's plan this out. If you're always doing this activity you're always doing, what is the logical conclusion for you to, what's the logical conclusion? All right, does that match up with the goal that you had identified? If the answer is yes, great. Let's keep on doing it. If the answer is no, all right, let's look at the goal and let's work backwards. Let's replace this activity you're working on with this, because this is what you want. This is just what you've been doing. It's a great way to, it's almost like a mirror. I've never seen my face with my own eyes before without some instrument. And so a coach can be that mirror to show you your face and be like, this is what your face looks like. If you don't have a coach, it's not impossible to see your face, but it's a whole lot more difficult to see what you're doing each and every day and how that's infecting you. And so that's the role of the coach, to be like, this is what's happening in your life. Let's direct some of this action towards the things that you've already told me. And now let's just see how this works along the way. A coach is there to support you. A coach is there to tell you what to do. A coach is there to say, hey, whatever you want to do, let's do it. You're here for a reason. Let's figure this out. I'm going to show you what you are doing and what you could be doing. And it's up to you to decide at the end of the day. Because if you have a booger hanging out your nose, I mean, the mirror doesn't say you have to get the booger out your nose. The mirror doesn't say anything. The mirror just says, you have a booger in your nose. Now, whether you want to get it out, get you a tissue, that's up to you. But I'm letting you know that, you need to take care of something. So that's pretty much what a coach is, just being a mirror and showing people what some of the effects of their actions are and talking them through that process.
And letting them know what's possible.
Exactly. Because sometimes we discount ourselves because we feel like people are intrinsically better than we are in this moment. And I think that if we watch enough TV and enough news and enough media, we find out that everybody is people just like us. It's just that they took different steps and did different things than we did. But guess what? If they can be on TV as messed up as they are, guess what? You could be on TV, because some people on TV have the same problems as I did.
Yeah.
So don't discount yourself because you feel like you're not worthy or you're not competent. It really is about, what actions are you taking each and every day? Are you moving in the directions of your goals? Are you moving away from the direction of your goals? Being honest with yourself. If you're moving forward, great. Continue to move forward. What other ways you can move forward? How can you move forward faster? If you're moving away from your goals, what do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? What do I really want to get out of life? Because I really do believe whatever you select and whatever you want to do and whatever you work towards are the things that you achieve. It may take you 10 years, it may take you 20 years, it may take you 6 months. But guess what's going to happen if you don't move that way? It ain't never going to happen.
Right. Just get started.
Exactly. Time is going to pass regardless. Might as well use that time that you're going to be experiencing in a way that's going to serve you in the future.
Do you believe that you should be able to identify your cues in order to change your behaviors? Or do you feel like you need to identify the behavior and then find the cue that's causing you to act like that?
You see the behavior first, but then you go back and identify the cue. So if there's a behavior that's exhibiting in your life, being aware of that behavior and being aware of this is what's happening, you are already like halfway solving the problem. Because if you can see the problem happening, you can address it. Then going back and saying, okay, I want to eat something. What else is happening right now? Well, I just sat down and I turned the TV on. Let's look at this. Am I really hungry, or am I just watching TV and other people are eating around me? So I really do think, like, one, I identify the behavior, because if you're not identifying, this is my personal opinion, identifying the behavior, because there could be different cues. The same cue can elicit different behaviors depending on your setting. And also there might be a number of different cues for one particular behavior. I could want something to eat when I grab my phone. I could want something to eat when I sit down and watch TV. I could want something to eat when I go to the movies or see someone else eating something. So I personally would lean towards identifying that behavior first, figuring out what is causing me to experience this particular behavior, and then look for the cue. Because if you can identify the behavior and then find those cues, you'll be able to do that in different settings as well. If you're only looking for cues, you'll say, all right, well, I'm not going to watch TV anymore. All right, when you're in a different setting and you're at the movies or something, you smell popcorn, now you're hungry again. You think, oh, well, this is different because I eliminated the cue of watching TV. And it's like, no, the behavior's still there.
Right.
So that would be my thing, is I talk my way through that on call. I would say identify behavior first and then find your cues, and then begin to be aware of the behaviors when they manifest themselves in different areas of your life to figure out what your cues are.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just want them to hear that from somebody else. Honestly, I'm being real with you. I'm like, I'm telling y'all that I wanted them to hear from somebody else other than me.
Awesome. Look,
Um,
hey, is there anything else you need me to agree on? You can put it in the chat. I'll
Look.
make sure I say it. Right.
That's something. Nah, that's what I just want them to hear that.
Okay.
I didn't want you to agree with me on this. Didn't even have to tell you. You did it on your own.
Right.
I wanted to ask you also, like, when you're building a business and when you're trying to do something different, there's different time amounts for that. Like, for some of us, it takes 10 years, like you said earlier. For some people, it's like a 1 year thing and it just goes. But dealing with that process is difficult at times because you have to check yourself a lot. So how have you been using this time to balance yourself? How do you deal with this process of building?
Two things: trusting God and trusting the process.
Mm-hmm.
So in my position, I'm also working with a coaching company. So I have my business and then I'm helping mentor other people who are starting their businesses. And it's been interesting to see, like, in certain niches, people can take off like that. It's crazy. Some people are like, yo, I have my first 5 clients and I just started, 2 weeks ago. And there's other people who have been like, I've been doing this for a year, 2 years, and I'm still struggling with my 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I look at it is, one, remembering, trusting God and being like, yo, if God wanted you to have it, you would have it. But even you getting your blessing early can be a curse.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Understanding, like, yo, there's a reason. The reason why you may not be succeeding in the way you want to succeed is because God is like, you are not ready yet. What are you doing? You need to get your stuff together. Because if I gave you 15 clients right now, you wouldn't be able to manage it. And guess what
Right.
happens if you don't manage 15 clients? You don't get any more, because now you've gotten a bad reputation. Your name is mud, and you didn't help anybody. So now you've just taken all this money from these 14 people. You've gotten, your 30 grand or whatever. And now that's the only money you will ever get in this business because you weren't ready yet. And the next part is looking at the process. Am I honestly doing what I need to be doing in order to get the results that I want to have? And being honest with yourself, being around people who are getting the results that you desire and seeing what they're doing each and every day. Are you willing to emulate someone who's waking up at 5 a.m, working on their business from 5 to 7, going to a full-time job from 7 to 5, working on their business again from 5 to 9, and then going to sleep and working
Right.
out and making sure they're eating right? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to, message 200 and 300 people a day and ask these things? Are you willing to go to these networking meetings every weekend instead of doing something else? The process is like the great eliminator of people. If you're for real about it, you'll keep going. If you're not for real about it, you're going to wash out.
Yeah.
And being honest with yourself, being able to look at your activities and say, I put in good effort today, or I didn't put in good effort today, and being real. I didn't do as well as I was supposed to do. It doesn't mean that you're a loser. That doesn't mean you suck. It just means that, hey, you might need to address a particular area tomorrow. That's like the biggest thing that I've learned too, is just because you fail does not mean you're a failure. Failures and failing are two completely different things.
Absolutely.
You're only ever a failure if you stop. If you stop in a state of failing, you're a failure. If you keep going, you just failed. It's no big deal. Like, yo, I've failed a class before. I've failed at multiple things before. My wife wasn't my first girlfriend. Like, I've failed in relationships before. I've failed at a whole bunch of other things before. Guess what? I'm still here, and I learned, and I understand how not to make that mistake again. The only time your failing becomes a failure is when you continue to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
My gauge for growth is making bigger and new mistakes each time. New mistakes means that you're not repeating the same mistakes. Bigger mistakes means that I'm trying to do more than I was doing the next time. Your magnitude of failure is like directly proportional to your magnitude of success. Everybody that's ever done anything worthwhile has failed on a monumental scale. Like,
Yes.
not just big, monument. Like, you would be upset at this person. You would be very, very, you'd be like, yo, what are you doing with your life? don't be afraid of that failure. Don't be afraid of doing new things, but just make sure that your mistakes that you're making are new mistakes, because it shows that you're learning from the past mistakes that you had.
I agree with you. Like, failing forward is a
Yes.
big thing. I mean, I feel like, your experience is your expertise, but if you don't try stuff, you won't ever feel secure in yourself because you haven't overcome anything.
Exactly.
It's like parents protect their kids to a certain extent that it's like you're hindering your child before like they even get to do anything.
Exactly.
And I see that in my work all the time. Like, yo, y'all gotta let the babies live a little bit.
Exactly. And you have to allow people make mistakes. If you come through in this, sheltered society, what are you really going to do when, mom and dad not there and teacher not there? How are you going to do this? Not just using a child analogy. What are you going to do when your friends aren't there? What are you going to do when your mom and dad are not there? What do you do when it's just you? And it really is just you. Everybody told you, I'm not giving you money this time. I'm not. So what are you going to do? Are you going to crawl up and die, or are you going to try and make something happen? And even trying to make something happen, I feel like this, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure that this is biblical. So pastors that are watching this, make sure that just put an asterisk here.
He's paraphrasing, guys.
Exactly, very paraphrasing. I do believe that like God rewards trying in a God. If you're trying in a godly way, I do believe that God rewards you for that. Because even in the Bible, we talk about the lilies of the valley and the crows. God feeds the crows. God makes sure that the lilies are pretty. Guess what they do every day? They just there. They're trying. They're living life. So God will take care of you if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But I can't give you something. I can't bless you with anything. I can't give you what you're looking for if all you're going to do is sit over there and not move. If you're going to sit over there and not move, God's not going to just drop food out the sky. You got to get up. You got to go to work. You got to go to Walmart. You got to go buy you some food in order for those things to happen. So sitting down, being too scared to fail is a recipe for complete and utter failure, because you're not doing what God required you to do. You're not trying anymore. And God wouldn't put you on this earth if he wanted you to be stagnant.
Absolutely. And people also have to realize that, trying to reach success is a faith move. Like, you have to move in order to see. Sometimes he gives you the big picture and not the steps. And then sometimes he gives you the steps, but not the big picture. Exactly. So it's like, once you start, you'll start seeing everything, and he'll start pouring in those resources. Like, you'll be like, oh, I needed that. And I didn't even know I needed that.
Exactly.
And he'll put the people in your life too. So I'm a firm believer in that. Like, just get started, because you'll be happy.
Oh yeah, you'll be happy. And one last thing we'll add to that is, like, write your prayers down. Write your prayers down. Because I've had this happen to me recently, where you pray for something and then you're in a situation, you're like, it's never gonna work out. God, I need some help. I don't know what's going on. And then like the next day something happens and you're just like, this is kind of odd. And you go back and you look at what you've written down, you're like, yo, wait, what, huh? How did this happen? This is what I prayed for 2.5 weeks ago that I was upset that didn't happen. Now is here. And I initially wanted to complain about it because it didn't look like what I thought I had prayed for.
Exactly.
When you go back and look at it, and you're like, no, this is what you asked for a long time ago. And I want you to have it now, because you know how to be patient. You know how to move forward. You know how to do what you're supposed to be doing, even when no one's watching, when no one's giving you the time of day. When you're faithful in little things, God gives you bigger things to handle. But you can't get them until God knows that you can handle little things. So making sure that you're, like you're talking about, continuing to move forward, continuing to do what you know you're supposed to be doing, and you'll be rewarded for that.
Yeah, he definitely wants to be able to trust you.
Yeah, yes.
So
God wants to give you stuff.
we just delay the process so much.
Exactly.
How do you define success for yourself?
Okay.
Like what would success look like for Matthew?
Success for me would be being able to provide value to others, being able to be location free and without worrying about money. I don't have to be. I've learned that I don't like being rich. I don't like having to worry about money. I want to be able to do what I want to do. I don't have to have $17 kabillion to do that. But being able to walk in the being able to walk in the purpose that God has put for my life, and making sure that the people around me are blessed because of what I'm able to provide to them.
That sounds great, and I love the fact that it's embedded in service, which says a lot about your character, because I just feel like whenever you're of service, you will be blessed regardless. And
Exactly.
you'll learn more about yourself and just be exposed to so many different things because you're putting yourself out there to be of service.
Yeah.
So I love that. So I'm glad you have that. If you had to say, or had to define your philosophy or your why or your favorite quote, what would that be?
You guys smell these deep questions, man. The one that comes to my head is something my mom used to tell me. And it was, if you do what you have to do when you have to do it, you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. All the quotes in my head.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah.
That is good. I feel like one of my favorites is how you do one thing is how you do everything. I think that's how it said. Like,
yeah.
So I feel like that's important. Like, you
exactly.
do everything at this level. Don't come down at all. Just try to keep it at that level.
And those quotes, especially yours, they're very scalable. It's not about, can I move this whole mountain? It's like, no, can you lace up your shoes properly? Can you make sure that you're holding the door and saying please and thank you? Can you make sure that you are being of service to people that are in your immediate area? We all like to tangent. We all like to think of success as being something we do over there.
Right.
Over there. When I get to there, then I will make sure I do all those things. It's like, no, you start building your success where you are. You start, like going back to the business example, you start building your business now. You don't have to quit to start your business. You don't have to, I would advise people not to quit to start.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Get your infrastructure ready. Figure out your target market. Figure out your products. Start building your products. Start talking to your target customer all before you completely make that jump. Because like you're saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. It starts now. It starts here. If you're doing what you have to do now, you can do what you want to do later. It starts now. We don't, as humans, experience future ever. We only experience present. They're technically, realistically, in our experience, we don't experience future ever. There is no tomorrow. Like literally, there's no tomorrow as of right now, because all we live in is right now. That's all we can experience. We have memories of the past, but guess what? We can't go back that way. We can project what we can do in the future, but we're not God. God could say tomorrow, hey, the sun goes backwards now. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. Figure it out. Change these time zones to be even more confusing than they already are. But whatever we want to do, we have to start now in this moment. Don't put it off until some magical time, because magical times don't exist. You create magic. You don't wait for magic to happen.
Absolutely. One of my favorite speakers, Les Brown, always says, he always says, like, success is basically you going in the direction that you chosen to go in, like towards the goal that you have. And once you start, you're successful already. Exactly. And I definitely agree with him, because I'm like, you're going to build up this like expectation of what success is while you're working, and then you're going to get over there and it's not going to even be what you thought it was going to feel like. And then you're going to be like, I failed. Just like you said earlier. So I think it's very important to go ahead and like feel those feelings now and trust it as you're going through it, and it'll help you. It'll help you get to the other side.
And learn to enjoy that journey. Learn the journey, learn from the journey, and enjoy the journey, because the journey is where the good things happen. As weird as that sounds, as much as I wouldn't want to listen to myself 5 years ago if I said that, I'd be like, yo, who is this dude? He don't know my life. The journey is the best part of the process. The destination is just like, I don't even really think we ever get to destination. We're people, and our thoughts are always expanding. And the moment you get to where you thought there was, you're gonna be like, ooh, if I can get to here, I know I can get to there. You even get to enjoy the destination like that. So learn to enjoy the journey, because the journey is where growth has happened. The journey is really where you begin to become the person who you need to be in order to get and move towards the goals that you have set for yourself.
You just answered my question that I was going to ask you. Like, like, do you believe purpose is a journey or a destination? But you just answered it, so it's all good.
Exactly. See, I didn't. So you didn't put that in the chat this time. So
I
you did
didn't.
not cheat.
I
You
didn't.
cheat.
He
We're just
answered it
on the
for me
same
though.
page.
I know that you said you like to read.
Mhm.
So is there any people that you would suggest that we should read up on, or any authors that you love the most?
I would suggest reading Ray Dalio's Principles. It is a book that is about this thick. To be honest, don't read the first section. Start in the second section, read sections 2 and 3, and then go back and read section 1. Ray Dalio runs an investment firm called, I think it's Blackwater or Black Ridge Investment Fund, and for the past 20 years, they've been at the top performer. They're doing like 30 and 40% like every year. Ridiculous number, ridiculous returns.
Wow.
And the way that he structured his company is around principles. He doesn't have it where people are going around and creating and rethinking the wheel each and every time. He's established rules for how they operate, and every idea, regardless of where it comes from, inside of his company is vetted based upon these principles that he's established. So if I get hired tomorrow, my idea and my suggestion on what we should do is valued just as much as his. It's just that they're both evaluated first based upon the principles and who we are and what we've been exposed to. And that book really helps you to understand principles in your own life. Mm-hmm. Because principles, while they are difficult to sometimes come up with because you have to go through several life experiences, once that principle has been set, it makes decision making that much faster.
Absolutely.
If you make a principle that says, I don't eat after 7. If something happens and it's like 7:15, you say, no, I don't eat this. You don't have to worry about it. It's just, I don't do this. I'm going to give y'all maybe 2 more. Mm-hmm. The first of the 2 would be for men for men, it would be called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. It really talks about what it means to be a man, how you can begin to improve yourself as a man, and how to be high value and how to like interact with women on like I don't want to say like a spiritual level, but understanding the give and take between the two. We're complementary beings. So understanding, how do we complement each other? What purpose does a man serve in a relationship with a woman? What purpose does a man serve by himself? And that's something that I would really encourage everyone to do, even if you're not looking to be in a relationship right now or not in a relationship right now, utilizing that time to say, what should I be doing now in order to become who I want to become, regardless of if this partner comes or not? What should I be doing? Because don't be waiting around for something that may or may not ever happen. How can I continue to build myself? And the very last one would be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a super staple in the personal development space. It's probably one of the first 2 or 3 books I read, and when I started being like, let me be intentional about making myself a better person, really opened your mind to some of the tactics that go into growth and you becoming who you want to become. It is a little antiquated. Some of the examples are all like, from 1920 something, but the principles that they're talking about still apply. They're still principles that apply in 2020, as crazy a year as this is, as they did in 1920, after the Depression. Yeah. So those 3 would be the top 3 I can think of right now. Okay. My encouragement would be to everyone, whatever you're interested in, find a book about it. Because as different as we all are, there's someone who's written a book about whatever you want to know about. Absolutely. Read the book, because you can read, books are a culmination of someone's experience. So you can take 20 years, whatever it took this person 20 to 30 years, especially if it's like an autobiography or something, those are the best. This person lived for 87 years. Their entire knowledge of 87 years is curated, boiled down to the most important points for you. And all it's going to take you is 4 hours to learn. You can get 87 years of good information in 4 hours.
Wisdom.
That's better than the stock market. Stock market returns aren't that good. So whatever you're interested in, whatever area you want to grow in, find a book about it. find multiple books about it, read about someone who agrees with it, read about someone who doesn't agree with it, come to your own decision. And just having that information in your head, even if you don't consciously memorize it, it will affect your decision making and move it more in line to what you've read. So that would be my encouragement for everybody.
My last question will be, if you knew then what you know now, would you change anything?
The cool answer to say is no, because it makes me who I was. And then the real answer is yes. Yes, I would change it. Me going back to talk to me, and like when I was first going into college, I would have to beat myself over the head with it. Like, look, this is going to suck, but you're going to do it. I would tell them there's certain things like, don't do this. Don't do this. It's going to cause you, irreparable, heartache and too much time and too much money. But certain things, it'd be like, yo, this is going to suck, but I need you to do it. Now, whether if I listen to me, that's the real question. Do I listen to me? I'll be like, yo, you don't have hair. I have hair now. So why should I listen to bald-headed Matthew? Because you've obviously been making bad decisions. So I think the answer is yes and no. In fact, to be completely honest, I do think that if I was given that opportunity to go back, I probably wouldn't even tell him anything other than me like, yo, invest in Apple or something. I mean, like, that would have been it. I wouldn't give him exactly. That would have been the only thing. And then everything else, I'd have been like, you need to figure this out for yourself. You really do. You have to figure this out.
Guys.
So
what? Oh, bonus, real quick.
Yeah.
You have to tell me the impact the missus has made in your life, the impact your wife has made in your life.
The way my wife's relationship in my life is been it's been great overall. There's always going to be those times where it's just like, yo, I don't understand you. I don't understand the way you think. I don't understand the way your mind is working. I think what you're saying is stupid, to be completely honest. It makes no sense to me, but I love you, so I'm going to do it anyway. Having a wife is like having, and this is going to sound really bad, please take it in the spirit I'm trying to say this. It's like having you remember PDAs when PDAs first came out, like the Palm Pilot?
Yes.
Yo, that's my wife in real life. Like I can tell her things and then she'll be able to reframe it in a way that I never would have thought about because, like we talked about before, my brain doesn't work that way. So it's been a blessing. It is definitely worth the effort to find the right one. Don't ever rush into that process. Be honest with yourself about this process. People, when you get married, it should be an addition to your life rather than I'm doing this because I need to feel whole. If you're doing it to feel whole, you'll always still feel empty and you'll just be half a person living with the whole person. Now y'all are 1.5 people instead of you being a one unit together.
Then you subtract from them.
Exactly. Now she's always trying to pour into you because you'll never feel good about yourself. So making sure that, this is where I go back into the book suggestions that I gave, making sure that when you're entering into a relationship, I'm good. Regardless if this works out, I'm good. If this doesn't work out, I'll be disappointed because emotions are involved. But guess what? I'm still good. But yes, marriage has been a great thing. I would, if you're called to it, go to it. If you're not called to it, understand you're not called to it and don't go to it.
Keep it moving.
Exactly.
But I truly do thank you for your time and sharing your insight with us. I know it's going to be helpful.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so glad to be able to share. I appreciate you giving me a platform to talk on, and I really love what you're doing with your platform and the way you've been able to reach people through your coaching, through everything that you're doing. You're bright. You are a bright spot in this area, and looking forward to seeing you in more places than, and being like, yo, I remember 6 years ago,
Right.
I was on her podcast. I'm going to call her. I'm calling a number on TV and being like, yo, Katrina, do you remember me? I know you
remember y'all. Always.
Exactly. No, but I really, in all seriousness, I do appreciate what you're doing. You're putting your money and your time and your effort where your mouth is. You're not just talking about it, you're being about it. So that's something I can always get behind.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No problem.